Hello, Tech Talk Worldwide. Welcome back to our 102nd edition of Tech Talk Live. And today's special guest, we have Miss Genesis Ward with us.
Hi.
Yay. So,
can't see it just
if
yet.
you guys haven't been looking through the magazines, being at different competitions and shows, being at nail camps and all of that, you're missing out because I got to meet Genesis and to be able to go through kind of her story a little bit. So many of us can relate of, how we get into the nail industry and what it takes to get the next step, and kind of dabbling when it comes to competitions and getting that fire in us where we want to do it more and more. And so I'm excited to be able to have Genesis share her story with us because I think she's going to inspire you to want to compete. Pretty quite confident with that. So welcome, Genesis, and good morning. Can you go kind of back as we do in the beginning of all of these and kind of tell us what inspired you to want to become a nail tech?
So actually it came from my mom. She used to get her nails done a lot. And her nail tech came to the point where she was so busy that she had to hire someone else to go in and prep the nails for her. And my mom really liked her experience of just having the one person, the conversation, the environment, everything. So when she had to go between two different people, she just decided to go ahead and start doing her own nails. So she went to Sally's and got her acrylic, started, learning how to build everything out. And it was the nail art that really got me into it. So back then, our marble consisted of a really thick layer of polish, dotting a whole bunch more into it, and then swirling them all together. And it was literally so thick that you had to wait all day for it to completely dry. So we would take one day and just sit there and do all of our nail art, and decals, were super huge. So every single nail would be something different and just playing around the decals. So then being inspired by all of that stuff, I was actually in Security Widefield area in Colorado, and it was Tony and Guy, I think, that had a beauty school in a local shopping center. And I went in and talked with one of the educators, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. How can I do this? I would think I was maybe 12 at the time. And she said, well, when you get into high school, they offer an AVP program, and you can enroll at that point. It would be your junior and senior year that you would do it. So as soon as you get in as a freshman, make sure you talk with your counselor, let them know what your goals are, and then they'll pay for you to go to school. Plan. So I did exactly that. And it's actually crazy because my high school counselor that I did end up getting enrolled into that program, I originally only signed up to do nails. And then she said, well, we'll pay for the whole thing. So why don't you do the whole thing? And I thought about it because I've always been into doing my own hair and braids and things like that. So why not? Just an extra feather in your cap kind of thing. So went through my junior and senior year doing the high school program, and fast forwarded a little bit to actually when I was an educator at a local beauty school, that same high school counselor would come in and get her services done. So it was kind of like seeing it all come full circle.
Yeah.
And she just said, I'm so happy that I chose you, because we had to write an essay and do all kinds of stuff to be able to be a part of the program. So she said, I'm so happy that I chose you, and to see that, what you've done with it, because so many kids that are that young and enter into the program, they don't follow through with it, either because I had to go like 3 months extra of my own paid money to get my licensure. So a lot of people just give up with it, either because of lack of support or not having the money to be able to finish. So I was very fortunate that it worked out for me in that way.
Yeah.
And then competing was kind of a crazy thing I did while I was in beauty school. The Skills Vica USA, I want to say is what it's called. So I did that one, was my very first one. And then I did another one once I got out. I got introduced to Easy Flow through, it was Ariel's back then, Cosmoprof now. But they had this football nail challenge. Entered into that, and then they didn't have like a first, second, and third, but they had a just the top 5 winners, I believe, and we would get like $500 worth of product from Easy Flow. So I won that, and then got contacted by Don Kittleson, which was that he was then a rep for them, and he's like, "What do you want? You know, let's load you up." And it happened to be that the director of education at the time received all of the nails that were done for that competition. So probably a month or so after I had gotten licensed, I actually got a phone call from Nail Tech Supply in Kansas City, and they invited me to come out to do an educator training.
Oh.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I just got licensed. I'm not like, how am I going to become an educator? Like, this is crazy. I was 18 maybe. So I was like, no, I don't think I'm ready for that. I can't remember who it is now, but somebody in their office like literally called me every single week and was like, "Hey, we've got this training coming up. You know, you really should come out." And I'm like, "Well, I can't afford to," because they wanted you to invest into the kit. It was going to be either drive or fly money, all that stuff. And again, I was 18. I just started. I've been living on my own. Like, it was a struggle for me at that point. So she eventually just said, "We will cover everything for you if you can just get yourself out here." And the more and more people that I talked to around me, that they were just saying, "You need to do this. If these people that don't even know you believe in you that much, you need to do it." So I packed myself up. I borrowed mom's car because it was way better. I couldn't make it out there in my car. So I borrowed her car, and I made this 9-hour drive out to Kansas City. And I would really say that that first experience in the industry was really what propelled me to everything that I am now, because I guess the realization probably in the last 4 or 5 years that the nail techs that are local have not had anywhere near the same opportunities available to them that what I had as soon as I got licensed. And that's kind of what propelled me even more into education, and then doing the supply house, which, yes, we sell product, but it's more about the education on how to use the products and bringing brands to Colorado Springs specifically, that aren't anywhere else. Because even though social media is huge now, still there's so many local nail techs that have no idea what's really out there.
So true.
So yeah.
I love everything that you just said. You had drive, and thank goodness your mom would take you with her. You know, one of the things that you said yesterday, Becky and I did a coffee talk, and we were talking about how to raise your prices, and people are like, "Oh, we can't compete with down the street, blah, blah, blah." And you know, one of the things that happened with your mom that you just shared that I hadn't really thought about, I mean, we keep talking about customize, personalize the appointment for the client. They still want that. So your mom was staying where she was until it became unpersonalized. She was being swapped between tech to tech, and no longer had that same, I don't know, camaraderie that she had with the tech prior. And so therefore that was her deciding factor to change. So with that, you know, we learn so much from things like that. And once again, it helps prove that people really want this customized, personalized, one-to-one kind of feel, that if they feel like they're just another number and pushed around from tech to tech, they're not going to continue to go there. They kind of feel like what your mom did, is I think I can do this myself, and which is what hits the DIY side. And so obviously though, that helped inspire you. You know, I didn't know that in the United States there was anything like that you could do through high school. And I'm just a state away from you in Wyoming. And so the first time I had heard that you can get your license in high school was through Australia, where my daughter's girlfriends moved to. So I think that's a great advantage that you had. Do they still offer a program like that through the high school in Colorado's? That's awesome.
They do. Unfortunately, it's changed because the beauty school that's offering the program, the teachers have to be licensed just like college educators would have to be licensed or educated. So that I'm aware of right now, there's still only the one school that is able to offer that AVP program, but they will only do it for either nail techs or hairstyling, because the amount of hours that it would take to them to get their licensure for cosmetology, they have to do that extra time and pay for it on their own, because there's no way for the high school to be able to pay for that for them, legality type of thing. I'm not really sure. It's been a while now, but to my knowledge, it does still exist. It's just only nail techs and hairstyling, because the school wants to make sure that as soon as you're done graduating from high school, you can go straight into an industry. And they do it for everything, not just for cosmetology.
Right.
You can choose any college career field, trade or what have you, and you would get an equivalent of a 2-year degree as soon as you get out of high school.
That's amazing. And that helps set you up for more success and not have to work at a lot of the fast food joints or, some of the other options that are out there. So in Wyoming, what we have is called the Hathaway program. So if you've done your high school years here and based off of your GPA, you get a specific amount per semester for college. But there's only one college in the whole state that has a cosmetology program that you can use. And you can't just go for nails, you have to do the whole cosmetology. And it takes 2 years of college, because you're off at Christmas time and all of that, and off in the summers. And so, but the Hathaway program would pay for your education. And I've hired a couple techs that have gone through that route. And it was interesting that because they went through the course slower and through every day a little bit more rather than a 9-week course, their knowledge that they came out with and their hands-on skills were a lot more developed than the ones that were just doing a 9-week course. And so I think that I like that idea because of that. And I like that you have a team of people with teachers and staff and all of that believe in you to continue to push you through that career. And I think it really is what helps set you up for success, is a little bit more long-term schooling like that. Thanks for sharing that, because I had not heard that from the United States, and I think it's exceptional. So later on, when you got in with the supply source and all of these or nail tech supply as well, did you feel that you were more of a salesperson? Did they bring you on as more of an educator, and you got to travel around a little bit? Were you doing more social media type of educating? How did you do the education side of it?
So originally, because what I went out there for was an educator training for Easy Flow nail systems. And I had no idea at that point in time, AII, American International Industries, and how large Easy Flow actually really was. So American International Industries own several different things, from Clean and Easy, GG Waxing. They've recently taken on Satin Smooth, the IBD gel, Easy Flow Ardell lashes. So I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. But once I went out to that training, I was blown away. I really say that Gary Dawn does a really good job of putting on a training and taking care of her people. And back then, it's kind of funny. Everybody normally says they're really intimidated by Gary Dawn, but it was actually Beth Oni who, when I first met her, I was just like, oh my God, like, again, your previous competitor, like, her pink and whites were on point. And at first I thought, oh, she's an admin person, like, okay, no big deal. But then when she actually came into the classroom with us, and I've seen both Gary Dawn and Beth do pink and whites, the minute that they lay that white down, it just goes right into place. And I was just like, okay, all right, I am in a whole nother league, because as most people say with beauty schools, you learn a foundation, and it's mainly sanitation and disinfection. But again, for that to be the first class that I had taken out of beauty school, I was already way ahead of most techs that are that graduate from beauty school, whether it be cosmetology or nail tech only. So huge, intimidating, but very invigorating experience. And then with me talking with Gary Dawn, I'm like, I heard about shows and different beauty events, and I said, how can I do that? I became, I want to say it was like just a certified educator at that point in time, because they have different levels of educators. So I was at their base level education, and we could go out to do beauty school classes. So I started out with the beauty school classes, and then I talked to her about doing shows, and she said, all right, sure, there's a small one local in Colorado. So they put me on with that one, and doing waxing. I was basically sales support for that. And then it kind of grew from there. Every 2 years, you have to do a recertification with them. And so growing with the brand, basically, I started off with the Easy Flow. I did that training, and then came back, actually, I want to say it was 6 months from that point, and they were doing a waxing training. So I then got certified into doing Clean and Easy and Gigi. And basically every 6 months for a couple of years, I was going out to do those trainings with them for either nail brand or waxing brand. And I mean, we were doing shows maybe a couple of months, or like 2 every single month at that point in time. And went from just kind of sales support as I was learning the brand and getting my footing with application, and then started teaching the classes at the trade shows. So it was a good like progression, basically, of getting my feet wet in the whole education industry.
Yeah. And then a few years ago, you kind of kicked it up a notch and started doing a lot more with the competitions. What was your first competition that you did, and how did you feel about it?
It was at the ICE show in, I guess it was 2017. I didn't even realize, for a conversation with somebody who was a part of American International, she asked me if I would ever want to do it. And I said yes, but I'm not going to do something and kind of be thrown to the wolves. I would want to do it with, really good support team. And I feel like being a part of AI and Allie Baker being such a big competitor, that I would let everyone down if I didn't do my homework and be ready to be able to compete. So I had no idea from this little conversation that they were actually going to start to expand on their team. At that point in time, Easy Flow had, I want to say 6 members, or maybe it was 5 members, and they were expanding to do an IBD team as well. So I got to take part in that. A week prior to the ICE show, we had a training in California for our normal educator recertification. So I, again, on the background things of competing in education, we were already so exhausted from doing the training, trying to perfect nails. I mentally was saying, competition stuff, as well as trying to do an educator recert, always trying to get higher, to hopefully become an international master artist, was like their highest thing, to where we could educate overseas. So no sleep.
Yeah.
Just exhausted and drained, because I wanted to do good to represent not only the educators and people that have supported me through the years, but as the company as well. It was a huge task for me. Also, at that point in time, I was going through a divorce. And so it was kind of like, I've got all this bad brain stuff on one side here, and all of these positive and good opportunities here. Like, I need to try to stay focused to be able to get through it. So come to the first day of competition. The IBD team consisted of Tiffany Silver, Yamalis Diorin, Andy, me, and why can I not think right now? Dang it. I'll think of it. But there was one other birthday. So there was like 5 on each part of the team. I want to say it was Amanda Leonard that was a part of that. It's hard to keep it separate between the Easy Flow and IBD team, because we wear different shirts, but essentially we're the same company. So they put somebody from their team on our team. So it was all of us together. And then from the very first competition, Carla Collier had given me the advice that you just need to finish. So that's what I'm going in there with my head, is that you just need to finish. Yeah. And the first one was soak off gel. And I did everything, but like, as the models are told to like stand up and put their hands up, I was like cleansing her thumb to get off the inhibition layer, as she's like, yes, I'm out of here. And everybody was like so supportive. It was so emotionally ridiculous for me because I cry a lot. And in that, I'm like, all right, first one down, like I finished. And it turned out at the end of that first competition, I ended up winning 4 trophies. Just huge start out the gate for me, especially at such a trying time. And that competition is kind of where the hashtag Team No Sleep came in, because literally I would be working on all of my pieces, practicing as much as I could all throughout the night. And I actually felt like more energized, I guess, to get through that next day because of the adrenaline running through your system, I guess. But you can only do that so long. So, try to pace yourself with it. But that's later on down the line, when AII decided that they didn't want to do the competition teams anymore, there was a few of us that were getting together and like we were going to name it literally Team No Sleep, because we still worked for the company at that time. But we thought that was a true representation of really what the competitors go through. This is something that, when you talk about like balancing your family life and your work life, when we're done working in the salon, for me, I'm very fortunate that I have my salon built out in the basement, but I can get done with my work, put my son to bed, and then come down and start practicing to get ready for competition. And I work until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And then at that point in time, I basically tell myself I need to shut down and get up and do it again all the next day. So Team No Sleep. That's where it comes from.
Right. Oh my goodness. And you're still doing that, a few years later, you're still on that and on your own. It's not because of the team. It's that you don't want to let the team down. You know that you can do this better and it takes practice. I've interviewed so many competitors and I ask, what's the one thing, one big tip that you can give to them? And they're like, exactly that. Practice, practice, practice. It's not about the product. It wasn't about, anything else. It was about practice so that you can know your product. Practice so you can get your timing down. Practice so that when you are under pressure without sleep and going through all of this, that you just know how to do it regardless. It becomes, second nature, and you're proof of that. And it's amazing to watch you work as well. So so obviously travel comes into play, and you just mentioned that you have a little with you. How do you balance the time? I mean, obviously you talk that you can, put him to bed and then go do the practice and stuff like that. But how do you balance the time to be able to like, are you working in a salon? And I know that you're traveling as well, plus your son. Do you have family that kind of helps you out? Does he come with you?
It's been a struggle. I would say I have, like my mom lives about an hour away in Denver. So when it comes to helping with him, I'm kind of on my own here in a way, because single mom for the most part since the divorce. But I do still have support. One of my clients, actually, we do trades. So I do her nails and her family's haircuts and things like that. And she has a whole tribe of her own at home. So Jeremiah, for the most part, goes and stays with her because it's fun, while I'm gone. And I think it was important for me to be able to stay in the game and stay focused when I'm competing, that I need to feel safe about where he is here at home, because there are some days where I can't talk to him because of either the time differences that are going on, or that I'm like nose to the grindstone. Just one of my models this last time took a picture of me as I was still working on my 3D piece, and I've got my hoodie on and I'm just like down detail work. And to be that focused, I need to know that he's okay. And he's gone through a lot of struggles. He's 10 years old now, but I think my like extended family is what I would say really helps out with that whole situation. And then I have a dog too. So Lola has to go to her Heather to spend her time. She gets to have a little play date with some other puppies. And if I didn't have that good support system from family, extended family, there would be no way that I could do it, because your mind just can't be there. And at the end of the day, he comes first. So
Mhm.
I'm happy that I can be able to still excel in my career and, do my passion and involve him in it. There's a lot of times where my son loves, like I had this one butterfly nail that I did for French twist, and I was practicing on him. So you're talking about an extreme, not this one. These are the ones that I did for bling, but a 9, 10-year-old wearing this on their finger, and he was so excited. Thank gosh for like the polish that you can apply to like take the tip off, because he wanted to go to school with it. He's like, oh my God, this is so cool. So bringing him into it and helping him to be involved is really cool, because he gets excited when I get to go to competitions. And then I try to make it special for him. And I always bring him back something from wherever I go, and try to share the pictures and the food and whatever with him. And hopefully one of these times I'll be able to bring him. I think I would have to have somebody else that can sit with him the whole time,
Mhm.
because your mommy mode would kick in, and I'm like, oh, have you eaten yet? Have you done this? Do you need, you need to take a shower, whatever. And it can't be that way. You need as minimal amount of distractions as possible. So
Yeah.
hopefully, I want to go to a training with Sam Biddle in the UK. She
Yeah.
does this yearly event, and I would love to be able to take him over there. One of my clients has a grandson as well that she wanted to take over there, so we can go see all the Harry Potter platform and all that kind of stuff. And she will watch him while I'm taking the education and teaching and whatever. And then we can do a touristy thing afterwards. So hopefully
Yes.
I would love to be able to share that with him. And he's of the age now, I think, that he could appreciate it and get into some of the events, because some of the, like at the ice show, I think you have to be 12 or older or something to even get into there. So some of the shows won't allow him
Mhm.
to be a part of it.
Yeah. I have two babies, but now they're 24 and 19. And I know what you are going through in the beginning. I opened my salon when I was 18 as well. And, I was competing, I was trying to do all of this and I couldn't. I was a rep with Intermountain Beauty Supply. So kind of a similar story, but I realized that, family's always first. And I just had to put that part on the side for a little while. So every now and then I dabble in it. But later on, I realized that I couldn't let go. My kids wanted to come with me so bad, but like you said, that mommy mode kicks in, and then there's too many other things that go on. You can't stay focused on all that. So my daughter's 19 now, and she wants to travel with me because I've done a lot of traveling this last year. And you know what? It doesn't go away. They're 19, and I'm still like, I'm worried about you being in a motel room all by yourself all day. Are you getting Ubers around a city that I've never been to before? And so that mommy mode, I can tell you, does not go away at all.
Mhm.
And so I think bringing somebody else with you would be fabulous. I love your drive and the practice that, like you said, your hoodie on and you're focused and you're in zone. Where do you come up with the ideas? Like you sent me some pictures from your last competition and stuff. Where do you come up with the ideas of what you want to compete and fantasy and all of that?
It's still a huge struggle for me, because whereas I guess everybody else says, oh, you're an artist and you can do all this stuff, I don't really have the artistic brain of being able to put all these different pieces together. So a combination of Lulu Despacio from Mexico, at one of the trainings that we were at with AII, I went to her and I'm just like, please help me. I've got no idea. And she is just so amazing with proportions. And well, actually, I guess she was a lawyer at first, but then she got more into the art background, and then she got into nails. So she has a different way of looking at things. And she was telling me, like, you need to, try to come up with a different concept, take it, sketch it onto the nails, and then, do that a few times to be able to get your lines good. And I'm going, I can't even portionally put a face on there if I tried. How am I going to do that? So then with Sam Biddle as well, she's all into like the digital nail art stuff.
Mhm.
So I kind of combined the two of them to really be able to help me. I took a picture of just plain white nails that were cut to the competition lengths that they needed to be. I combined the digital art by like, the first theme that I did this with was, it was all these, I can't think of it, like illusion type design swirls. And I went on Pinterest, got all these different images that I could combine together, put them into a software program on my iPad, and then actually was able to size them. So the face, when you're sizing them, you can actually tell I want it to be placed in the middle of this nail and in the middle of this nail. So the focal point of where the eyes are going to be, you can actually show that detail. And then like the nose that you might not be as good at, that can be in the crease, because who cares? And so I was able to map out this whole thing using the software program, and that's where it really kind of helped me out with it, because it's easier to be able to sketch that out on a nail tip when you have the proportions and kind of line it up like a grid. And it brought my kind of non-artistic brain to be able to, I can recreate anything. That's one thing that I guess would be my point of difference with my clients, is that they can bring anything in from Pinterest, and I'm like, yep, I got that. You want it in gel, acrylic, what do we need to do? But to start out, for anybody that's starting in a nail competition for art especially, I think that's a really good way to try to combine all those different things together to be able to create something related to the theme. And as far as taking a theme to a twist, so I'm going to show one of the examples of this. This last one in Sacramento, the theme was Shark Week. So I've kind of combined, because I'm definitely a rule follower, and I really dive in detail into looking at the judges' criteria as well as the rules for it, and try to figure out where I can get the most points, right, where it's worth it. One of the things that I would say is like a no-brainer point would be, if you can think outside of the box and not just do the exact theme of Shark Week, then you can get an automatic 5 points. If you can make your tips be the exact 2 inches long, or graduated from that point, I should say. So the longest one would be 2 inches long, and then graduate. Those are no-brainer points that you should get automatically coming out of there, 10 points, because it's not about, the eye of the beholder or anything like that. You're talking about facts. So for this one, I thought, oh, well, I'm not going to worry about going outside of the box and being creative. I'm going to worry about making these as technical as possible. And my clients were like, no, that's not how we do things. You get more points for being creative and thinking outside the box. This is what you're going to do. I'm like, okay. So we came up then with doing Shark Tank instead. So my Shark Tank could then be an episode of Shark Week and be able to tie into the theme. So getting all of your clients and people that are close to you involved in it, even my son, to help you brainstorm on all the ideas is huge. So this was it's like mirror imaging.
Yeah.
But
let's post a picture of that in the group. So people can see it.
So it became like, all of these are my Shark Tank guys. So I tried to combine basically a combination of the real humans, but from a shark perspective. So he was asking for money to be able to start up his business called Fish in a Flash, and bringing the easiest food source to all different species of sharks. It came from my clients, honestly, because I was ready to just go, I need to start on this. So as it is, that piece took me over 288 hours to do, of which a goal of mine from the start of last year's competition season was I was going to film every single hands-on competition and every single turn-in that I do, because I want to try to encourage more people to be able to compete. And I feel like if for all the ones like soak off gel, let's say in the competitions, if you can watch it from start to finish, you can hear the dialect between me and my client. You can see the table setup that's happening and the like, oh crap moments where you're down to the wire. And my models help me out so much to with the timing, the positioning, tell me if my forms are off. Like, I really think that the models do even more than what we do with it. And hopefully if people want to take the time to sit there and watch that, it's for soak off gel, it'll be 30 minutes. And literally I do some voiceover with it. But you can hear everything that's going on, and maybe that'll help someone who doesn't know what to expect. So with me filming all of the work that I've done, or I try to do as much as I can, but as it gets closer to time, I'm like, cameras out of the way and, you know, we're down. But it takes a while to go through and like fast forward all of that stuff to be able to make it into a video that you can put onto YouTube. But I'm hoping that it will encourage more people to compete, to see how you create these things. And that's why with the competition that Nails Magazine puts on, the Next Top Nail Artist, I love the fact that they make them do videos, because it encourages other people to step outside of their box and see what they can do with their everyday use products.
Yeah.
That's my goal with it. It's going to take a while to put all those videos up, because again, I'm doing it at midnight, but eventually, you know, I'll develop more of a channel, and hopefully that it'll help somebody.
Yes, I love your idea. Like, I think it would be absolutely fabulous. I am one that watches the videos from NTNA and how they create what they do, and I'm blown away where, like what you said, outside of the box, where they come up with these ideas. I remember watching Lauren over and over and over again try to do this like broken snow globe thing that she was doing, and how she would get the balloon and just dump the gel right out of the bottle onto the balloon and just watch it pour out, and then ways of trying to cure it. But you know what, one thing that you mentioned is the hours that you put into that. So many people are like, oh, I competed, it didn't work, or I competed, anxiety got me. You know what? Here's one thing that happens at competition that is so different than when you're at home. When you are at home, you are alone, you are focused, you know what you want to work on, and you're practicing. When you go to a competition, you can be focused, put your earplugs in so that you can tune it all out, because the music is so loud. The people, there's so much, and you can hear, you're not supposed to talk to your model, but there's so much scuttlebutt of people walking by and all of that. There's so many distractions that you have to learn to kind of put those blinders on and do that. So I always tell people when they're at home and they're trying to get ready for a competition, be in the middle of chaos and try to do it. Because I'm telling you, then you can overcome some of the other chaos that happens when you spill something on your table that at home you never did, or that you forget something. How are you going to improvise? And so it's important to put yourself in a little bit of chaos when you're practicing, because boy, when you go to the shows, it's so loud. For me, it was always the noise that kind of brought on the anxiety, and then I could no longer stay focused on what I was doing, and I'm worried about the time, and the anxiety would hit up more and more and more, and the more I would compete, the more I wouldn't finish. And so what you said earlier about at least finish, that is so important. And listening to the rules, there's so many rules. Like not too long ago, somebody was talking about in the rules, they didn't realize that, you know, how serious they would be about no tattoos. And, you know, when there's a tattoo on the hand or the arm, they can claim that the judge would know who the tech was that did that, because they could recognize the tattoo on the model. It's important to cover that up, or get it a model who does not have that tattoos, or you are automatically disqualified. And so those rules are important.
So now, I mean, and I think it's important to look at the rules for any competition that you're in. With Nail Pro now, like, you can talk to your models. It's not an issue to be able to. They can't like physically help you out with anything, as far as like, obviously they can't do the nail for you, but communication with the model, it's totally okay for Nail Pro anyway. And I do think that's actually huge for anxiety and keeping up with my time. Because like I said, when you start getting more nervous, if something starts to go wrong, then your model can step in and be like, all right, you got this. You got this. You're ready to go. You got this much time. You have 2 minutes per nail now. So I don't care how much of a perfectionist I am. I know that I only have 2 minutes per nail. So I'm going to finish as much as I can on that one. And then she will literally like take her finger away and put the next one in place so that I can at least finish. And then as far as the tattoos go, it is okay with Nail Pro that they have tattoos as well. I don't know. I've heard of people talking about like using foundations and stuff to be able to cover them up, but I don't know because I've never had to deal with it, how that would work when you're talking about having like no dust or dirt on the underneath and cleaning the hands. Because I actually take my model's hands and I have them dunk them in water right before that I'm done with them to give them a little bit of hydration before they go up and dry it all off. So I haven't had to deal with that part of it, but it's weird that you can't have any jewelry, you can't have any bracelets, but they are allowed to have a tattoo. Because
Yeah,
I would
the
think
UK is definitely more strict on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And you have to know, ask those kinds of questions going into it, because some of that stuff they might not necessarily have in the rules or not think about it until you're there and you don't want to be without a model or having to go through that issue. Yeah. Every single one, like you said, from Nail Olympian to Nail Olympia, Nail Pro, they're all the ones in Nail Masters, I think it is in Canada. They all have different rules. So you need to make sure, just because you're used to how one works does not mean that's how it's going to be for somebody else, even if it's a bling competition.
Yeah, exactly. So, gosh, you have a lot on your plate that you're doing now. It sounds like you started with a full plate. And so what do you want to do with your career? What's your goal?
Right now, I've actually been extremely blessed with something that kind of came out of nowhere or just out of necessity. When I was doing the hand turn-in competitions, I struggled with one of the rules that said that you had to attach the tips to the board in a way that they can be removed. I asked Amy Becker, Allie, all these different people, like, how do you put them on there? Everything from mounting tape to a hot glue gun. And like, well, the judges can't remove it if they need to be. I even asked Carla, and she was just like, oh, ask other competitors because they'll give you the best advice on how to use it. And struggling with it in the creation portion, as well as, because if you use double sticky tape or mounting tape as you're working, you can't, like, to me, I kind of ruined some of my details because I picked it up before it was completely cured, or so with struggling with that, it led me to develop a product that I had no idea until Jewel Cunningham. I went with, it wasn't this one in particular, but I went in with my nail art and I said, okay, I'm letting you know that all of these can come off the board. Okay, do you think they're secure enough to turn it in like that? And she just sat back and said, you need to do something with that. And I'm like, oh my God, like I have a hot glue gun. Like I didn't have time. And like, can I go back to my hotel room and put them on there? Like I thought that she was saying that it would, like, I can't do that, but she said, no, that is amazing. And you need to sell that. So it took me about 1.5 years to get everything together with it, because I wanted to be able to produce it and be, I don't want to say perfectionist, but it has to be good for me to be able to promote it. So it came up with this whole different stuff. Most of the competitions, you have to have an 8x6 board that's a sturdy foam core board to turn in your artwork on. And then I have attached a piece of metal to that board. So the basics of the board looks like this.
Yep.
And then in a kit, you get the 10 magnets, because most of the competitions you would have 10 tips, and then 2 packages of either white clear or natural tips. That's your basic kit that would get you started to do your nail art. And then from there, during the working process, this is just, I think it's like 16 millimeters thick, hard metal. So it would act as a reflective surface if you're putting it into a gel lamp to be able to cure your nails. But as you're working, doing your details, in order to, let me see if I can get it close up. If you were going to line up your ship from one nail to another, you can place these nails slightly more separated from each other to bring the line down and then push it back into place really quickly to be able to get a perfect matchup to where it looks like a complete scenery when you're done. Instead of, if you're using the handy tack, sometimes it sticks well and then other times it doesn't. With this, you have the mobility to work with them however you want and go straight from that to what you're actually going to display them on for your turn-in. So future-wise, I started creating more projects like that for the competition world. And amazingly enough, like the first launch that I had, Sam Biddle was a huge supporter of it. And I was thinking, oh, maybe if I sell, $100 every couple of months or something, it'll be okay. Because no matter what, I'm making them for myself. I sold $850 worth and shipped over to the UK, and I was in tears. Yeah. Because for me, I've sold more now of my own product that I developed than I did for any manufacturer that I've taken on with the supply house. And to know that that many people, that hopefully can help them, right, to get their start in the competition stuff and get a perfect 5, 10, whatever on their presentation, because I'm not going to send that board out anything less than perfect. If even the foam core board on the side has some phrase in it, they're not going to judge that. The judges don't care, but I care about it. And the emotions that I get every single time an order is placed helps me, or I guess makes me want to do even more, because I am helping people and making a difference with them. And I love to see the artwork that's created from doing all this stuff, because it makes that process to me so much easier. And then another thing I struggled with when I got home was all my stuff would sit in a box, especially, doing so many competitions back to back. All the turn-ins, they would all just stack up and sit in a box, because there's nothing that was out there that was the 8x6 dimensions, because it's not a typical photo shadow box type of thing. So then I created the clear plexiglass display boxes. So these are specifically for our artwork in our industry, to where you can get your first place, your second place, your third place, or even your sixth place, and come home, put it up on your wall, give you more encouragement for you to then do it again. Let your clients see, where your effort's going into and how much passion that you're putting into your industry. And this is one of the 3Ds that I entered into for Home for the Holidays. And literally, you can shake this box. It can travel with you in the airport, whatever, and they're all still there. So you can use it for protection for your artwork when you go, because mine was always with me, sitting on my lap on the airplane, arguing with the flight attendant because I'm not going to put it underneath my seat. Yeah. It needs to stay so much fragile pieces on there, right? It needs to stay perfect. This is ours. Now, I still keep it with me, and I put it in my backpack, right? Because it's never going to go underneath the plane. But it's safe in my backpack, and I'm okay with that. And the judges, even I've gotten some international feedback as well as Nail Pro judges, and they've all said that it's amazing, because a lot of people glue their work to the bottom of the clear displays. For one, you can't ever take it out. If you were doing a class or something and teaching other people how to do it, they can't ever look up close to it, because now it's permanently adhered to this box. And they love it. They can pick up each piece and be able to look at it to ensure that it's not attached to each other, because that's another one of the rules. So I think that I've found a really amazing product that will hopefully, you know, keep going and helping out both sides of the judges arena as well as the competitors.
Genesis, you are phenomenal. Your brain is unstoppable. And I'm telling you, what you just came up with makes me emotional just knowing. I mean, I know what it's like to have this idea in your head and then have other people believe in you and then take your idea into fruition. I'm working, you know, right now with like elegance with that. And I can feel your emotion behind it and the passion and, you know, the hours that we put in because we want it to be so perfect. So sorry, it kind of brings me to emotions because I know the dedication and I know
Cutting out on my side. We made it almost through to the end.
and take your idea into fruition. I'm working, you know, right now with like elegance with that and well, you guys know that sometimes for some reason, Facebook, internet, or somebody plays a little trick on us. And I know that we were at the end of that, but I really wanted to give a little bit more to Genesis and spotlight you and your talents because I'm telling you that you are making huge waves in our industry. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your ideas and everything that's going on with you. It's fun to watch you. I told you that I've stalked you for a little while and you know, one of the things that you mentioned that I want to really touch base on is from the get-go, everything that you've mentioned actually is gathering a team around you. It's a gathering your support system around you. And you even said, I could not have done this if I didn't have, you know, your family members supporting you and even your son supporting you in what you do. And so I think it's important when people want to go into competition as well that they need to look at and so get a team around them to be able to, you know, build that up more. And so it's kind of hard to find a team because sometimes then they're pretty exclusive. For instance, you were lucky because you got on with Easy Flow IBD. But if you were an independent salon, I remember years ago when I was competing, the Profiles girls, they were, you know, this was before they even came out with their product line. That came later when they started having more of the Profiles team. But sometimes it can just be the girls in your salon. It could be your community or just a group of techs that you've met online that you create this team. And so do you have any advice of what it would take for people to like get a team for them?
Most definitely. So yeah, I was very, very fortunate that working for AII that for the first couple of years that I competed, they sponsored everything for us. And it's amazing for one, if you can find an ownership of a company to be able to sponsor you, because you get the whole team atmosphere, the company, the products, everything behind it. And when AII decided, or Mr. Reisman decided he wasn't going to have the team anymore, I was very bummed out because it's expensive to be able to compete. And honestly, like those are all of my extended family as well. So I started to seek out other sponsorship. And it was a really hard decision for me to be able to make because I was with AII for so long, and they were my family, from admin people and show stuff to the educators as well. So I would say don't just limit yourself to either saying, well, if I can't afford to compete on my own, that I'm not going to be able to do it. If that's the case, that you have tried to seek out sponsorship from owners, or try to get a group of people together, you can always do the turn-ins that they have, either by mailing them in. A lot of times they're a little bit less expensive to be able to get started, and that will get you more notifications, so that hopefully recognition, once you start getting the recognition, you could then go to try to find someone to be able to sponsor you, whether it's your salon owner that could sponsor, everyone in your salon to be able to compete, or a manufacturer. Find a manufacturer that you really love their products and have gotten used to them, because it's going to make that transition to either being an educator for them or what have you so much easier. And I was very blessed to be able to be brought on with ONS, because Trang is also a very good competitor. And if I was going to make a change in companies, I really wanted to make sure that it was with someone who valued what I had to bring to the table just as much as what I was willing to do the work for them. And it is a massive, massive blessing to be able to have him as the head of the company. I've never had someone in that position so close to all of their team members. I mean, he's got educators worldwide. Okay. And the fact that he knows us, he knows our families. We've had dinner with him during our trainings. Like, he cares about all of us individually. And I think that's why, like with you and Light Elegance, that it's made such a good team, because they're passionate about you. And even though it's a large company, they're passionate about you. And in turn, both of you guys are going to benefit from that. And it's been amazing. It was before the Pasadena show, I want to say, that Trang's wife, Vanny, said, I'm going to the temple to pray for you. And I just broke down in tears, because, not only do they want us to do well because it's good for the company and marketing, but that her personally, she was taking the time out of her day in another country to bless us. So don't limit yourself to just your local stuff. Show your work. Send the emails out to the different companies, even if it's doing some kind of raffle or something to raise money with your clients, to be able to support you in doing that. If it's really something you want to do, you will be blessed to pass that on to other people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so true. Absolutely. I remember one of the first teams. So I had, competed independently, because I didn't really know to get a team in the 90s. You just kind of went and competed. I wasn't educated enough into it. And not to say that nails weren't new, but it was still newer, where we were doing more pink and whites rather than this opaque, neutral, nasty color, and stuff. And so there was a lot more to it. And living in a small town where I was uneducated of all the product lines that were out there. I mean, I worked for a product company, but it still wasn't the same. And so I remember, do you know Chef Ramsay on TV? That was my coach. It was pretty much a Chef Ramsay. You're not doing this right, yelling at you all the time. And I'm telling you, I kind of broke it down. But later on, years later, I realized that I wasn't listening to what he had to say. He was really teaching me some really good stuff, but because I was like, I don't need to be treated this way, I just shut him out. But that was his teaching style. So make sure that when you find a team, that it's in your teaching style and it's with what products that you enjoy to use. Because if not, if you get a Chef Ramsay, it can shut you down really fast. Or some people might thrive with the Chef Ramsay type of thing. Or I always think of like, oh my gosh, if that, I just met her for the Philly show. Tabitha Takeover.
Oh yeah.
Like if somebody came into my salon and like tore things apart and told me everything I was doing wrong, it would shut you down. But the realistic is that's how they teach. That's how they know how to teach. And really, if you listen to them, the baseline of what they're saying in between all the cussing and all the yelling is really a foundation of great knowledge. But you just have to find the which ones fit with you. I realize that that's not my kind of coach, and I'm not that kind of coach as an adult either.
Well, and I was going to say that changes because of your experiences within that, that changes who you've become as an educator. And I was the same way. My beauty school educator, I did nails better than any of the educators in that school because they were cosmetology teachers, not nail tech specific educators. And because of that, my grades were actually way lower than what they should have been, because it was almost like she was trying to teach me a lesson or something. And I just thought, I will never be like that. And so hopefully all those experiences, I still would hope that in your terror or your awe of they're telling you that you're horrible, the reason why you took a class from that person in the first place is because you like the work that they're doing or what they're promoting. So hopefully you can get something from it, technically wise, but then as you grow, you know exactly what you don't want to be as well. And I would always say, be open and receptive to feedback, whether you think that's the way it is or not. And every single competition, there has not been one in the last 3 years that I have not gone to seek out a judge for pink and whites and stuff in the beginning. And then when I got into the artwork, I mean, literally, I'm sure when they see my name come up on their messenger, they're just like, oh my God, because I hunt them down. I want to know based upon this set. I took very detailed pictures, and there's so much that I learned from it because um, you can't like, and I would do the same thing if I decided to go into Nail Olympia or something. The style of judges in their personality type, as well as the competition and what they're looking for, are completely different. So the nail that you're going to do pink and white for Carla or for Nail Pro is not going to be the same nail necessarily as what it would be for Nail Olympian. So you go to those judges and be completely and totally receptive to what they have to say. Otherwise, you're not going to progress any further because you're putting a roadblock in front of yourself. And I was really hoping with Trang too that I'm ready. I want that Tabitha takeover. Like, you're not holding your brush right. You're not doing this. You're not doing this, because I'm at that level of perfection where I'm like, when I would go to Allie to get any feedback, she would say, oh, one thing, and try to go, no. You tell me everything and how I need to fix it because I can handle it. But she is such a good educator that she tries to play that balanced role to give you enough to hopefully make you excel a little bit more, but not to terrify you and make you go, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Genesis, what are all the ways that we can contact you? And then we'll also type them into the comments as well.
So Sozo Education in nailsupply.com is where I have all the products displayed for both competition stuff and the lines that I carry. For YouTube, it is Sozo Education. I don't know if this will help, and maybe they can just scan them. I don't do much on Snapchat. This would be the YouTube scan for Sozo Education. And then Instagram is the same thing, Sozo Education. And then this is the Facebook, Sozo Education.
Yeah, Becky just taught me about all the scanning like that. She just did that at the Utah Nail Show. She said, Amy, it's so slick. So yeah, I'm looking into doing the same thing. It's amazing how easy our automation has gotten to make it easier for us to, follow like that.
Yeah, because all you have to do is pull out your camera, and when your camera senses that image, it automatically pulls it up and tells you, hey, do you want to go here? And I'm like, why are you reading my mind? Like, I just wanted to look at it later. Like,
yeah, love it. Absolutely. Well, Genesis, I'm sorry that we had a little bit of a glitch. I can say I don't ever edit anything, but I will edit these two together. And so it will take me a little while, but I appreciate your knowledge, your time, your drive, and sharing your story with us. You are very inspirational. And I'm so thankful that you said yes, that you would come on Tech Talk Live with me, because your story needs to be spotlighted and heard. And I'm excited for your inventions that you have coming up and everything like that. So continued success to you in your career, everything that you do in life, and your family and everything as well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really happy that I'll be able to help more people.
Yes, absolutely. So if you guys have any questions and you're watching this on replay for Genesis or I, please tag our name in it, or you can private message us, because sometimes it won't send us that notification unless you do that. And then likewise, if I see something in there, I'll tag Genesis' name as well. But we want you to be involved as much as possible, because that's why we do these Tech Talk Lives, is so that we can connect you with these inspirational people to be able to continue our careers as well. And so Genesis, again, thank you so very much for sharing everything, every part of your passion. I can feel your desire and your drive, and I love that. It energizes me as well. So again, thank you so very much.
Bye.
All right, have a good day.